The next game is Ys 3. And yes, I know I called it Wise before, but when you're growing up in 1992 without any internet access, you and your friends will call it Wise. As previously stated, there's gorgeous anime cutscenes describing the story, which involves you and your friend Doggy traveling back to Doggy's hometown, only to find out that something is very wrong. You also meet your, of course, potential love interest, who is the only female in the game. Let's start with the gameplay. This is one of the hardest enemies in the game. The hit detection is so poor that sometimes you can be right up next to somebody and they will hit you first, even though your sword looks a little longer. This gets you into a lot of trouble and makes you die a lot. This is one of the most annoying and frustrating aspects of the game, as even though you have a half-second delay when you hit somebody so that they can go through you, most of the time they will always hit you first unless you run around back and forth like this image here. It also doesn't help if you lure them away from their spawn point too much. You will just defeat them and then have to fight them again in an endless loop unless you just run past them. To aid you in your quest, there are 5 magical rings you can get throughout the course of the game. The first one doubles your strength, so anytime you hit an enemy, you take out twice as much energy as before. This can lead to some pretty simple boss battles. Next, there's the protection ring. It absorbs energy and does half damage, so that you can actually do things like this on a boss. The third ring freezes time, and every enemy moves twice as slow. The fourth ring regenerates your hit points, but it uses your ring power faster. The fifth ring is another protection ring, which makes the second one pretty useless, as you can absorb all damage and not get hit. However, it drains your ring power incredibly fast. It can also be used to cheapen boss fights, like this one here. Your ring has a charge collectively of 255 points that lower immediately as you start to use them, and you can get one item that recharges them during the level. Also, you can also get one herb, which refills all your energy. You can also buy, for $10,000, a magical item that has 3 charges. These can be used to weaken bosses, clear a screen of enemies. And those are the only 3 items you'll ever have to help you on your quest. Also, similar to the Legend of Zelda games, you can also increase your sword, armor, and shield to one of 5 different of each throughout the course of the game. And, like the second Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo, there is also a hub town where you can refill your magic, buy herbs, and talk to your friend Doggy, as well as find out where you're supposed to go next. Also, like Zelda 2, you increase your strength with your sword as well as your hit points over the course of the game to a cap of 255 hit points. Now watch a boss battle that encompasses all the item rings. Oh yeah, and touching almost any boss in the game is an instant death sentence. Ah, there's that shady hit detection coming in again. You will have to pause and select your ring, and then as soon as you use it, quickly pause and take it off, because you will lose ring energy, so this really slows down a boss battle. The only thing I would have liked to have added in this game is maybe a select the rings from the L and R button. You start out the game by helping to save some villagers that have been trapped in a mine. Now, in the beginning, you need to hit a few of these insects here, and then quickly leave so that your energy will be replenished. And then do this till you level up about 3 or 4 times. You do definitely not want to get to the 3rd screen without having leveled up a few. Since I've played through this game a few times, I tried to see what would happen if I played through it overpowered. I simply removed 2 birds and then waited here at the edge of the corner so that the creature I killed infinitely respawned right next to my sword. And then I just fast forward the game, and in about 20 minutes I had the max hit P and experience. And because one of my favorite aspects of games is boss battles, I'm going to start with a brief listing of all the bosses. First is an evil wizard, who isn't really that hard. And occasionally you'll go through some empty screens, which is a huge relief after almost dying every single enemy you meet. And then you fight a naked statue. I don't know what it is about all these games I started playing for this series, but every game I've played since I've started, except for one, has had some type of naked male or female inside of it. Basically, you learn that Chester is helping the wizard Garland to resurrect Galbalon, and that's pretty much the entire plot of the game. You eventually get to the second world, which is a castle, and run. Run like hell. If you stop, you die. If you stop to fight these birds, you die. If you stop to fight these whip dogs, you die. You just run like hell for 5 screens, and then you can finally rest. And then you go to a fire pit, which is even harder than the place you just ran away from. And and then you eventually go to a screen where you run like hell again. Then you fight the fire dragon, and this is when all the bosses start to get extremely hard. And now you have to go back and run through the same screen with the fire going the same direction, but you are not. Every level has 2 ways to go, but you're forced to only go one way until you defeat a boss to get the key that will allow you to pass through the second direction. And then you fight a purple dragon, followed by an evil brain. And then it's time to fight Naked Boss number 2, followed by another dragon who only a centimeter away from your attacks can lead to instant death. And from this point on, there are 4 bosses in a row, and they are so hard you're going to want to come back here and save and refill all your items every time you defeat only one. Well, except for this guy, he's pretty easy. Then, once in this clock tower, you need to look for the 5th ring, which you can easily overlook by accident. The music is really what enhances the final level. Beforehand, your love interest was kidnapped. Now, ironically, the final stage has the easiest creatures in the game. But now, as you get near, the music starts to pump as you realize your final battle is at hand. So you stupidly give Garbalon all the items he needs to resurrect himself, and then you go on and fight his resurrected form. And there, the music intensifies as you enter his chamber. Garbalon is one of the hardest bosses in the game, but ironically he's also the most balanced. He has no cheap deaths, and you can't actually get hurt if you touch his body, only if you touch the things that are supposed to kill you. So now I bet you're wondering, what could possibly be different from this version and the Japanese version? Well, Jesus Christ. That's right, there is a cross with Jesus Christ on it in the church. This is a fantasy world that has somehow discovered the Christian religion. It just blows your mind. And there you go. I won't spoil the ending because it's a really good ending. So yes, the game definitely has its flaws when it regards to hit detection, but it is a fun little game that doesn't take up too much of your time. I definitely recommend you try this out, though I would like to see some reviews on the TurboGrafx 16 and the Genesis versions just to see how different they are.